It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 31st day of March, 2020, the day before April Fool's Day. So hope everybody's having a great day. And good morning, Tom Henry. Tom was here looking, wonder where everybody else is. I don't know if Gretchen and Bonnie or anybody else is here yet, but anyway, Tom's here. A couple things to ponder about this morning and a couple stories. Number one, of course, if you're new to this channel, and we keep growing, folks, a little bit at a time, nice and steady. I do appreciate that. So if you are new, we regularly do all sorts of things involving travel and cruise industry news. On this show, it's 11 o'clock Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or I go live when something major happens in the world, or Tina Turtle, who is back here in the, let's see, wrong finger again. There's Tina Turtle. There we go. Tina Turtle back in the background tells me to go live, and I follow along. So, because I don't want her biting me in the ear, which she's could chomp on my ear pretty easily. Then we do videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry, and sometimes act a little silly. Now, with all this business of social distancing and sheltering in place, which most of you know by now I'm doing because I'm old, and my sister and brother-in-law are older, so we're trying to stay as safe as possible. So we are sheltering in place. But I did discover one thing in following with all those guidelines we're supposed to do. If you have a cocktail in your left hand and a cocktail in your right hand, you don't touch your face accidentally. Just thought I'd point that out, folks. And by the way, this is the infamous Carnival Sunrise sweatshirt. See, you can see it on the back there, Carnival Sunrise. I got when I was on the Carnival Sunrise, and using my here a couple, well, what's that, a month ago now, 6 weeks ago, whenever I was on the Sunrise, freezing to death. So I got a sweatshirt, and what made this the infamous sweatshirt is the first 3 times I wore it, the lettering was on the front. It says Carnival Sunrise on my chest, until I got to the point I felt like I was getting strangled, and I realized I had it on backwards. Now, I'm not going to make any reference to how dumb I am, but that's neither here nor there. All right, before we get to some stories, we got, let's see, Tom Henry is looking for company. Gretchen popped in. So Tom at least has some company. YouTube's going to, he says, YouTube going to restrict the show. I sincerely hope not. I haven't said anything yet. Oh, left, backwards. Yes. Yeah. The shirt was backwards. So anyway, first major story this morning, and there are several, several stories today as of yesterday, and this was the important one for me. I don't mind telling you, is Norwegian joined the fray and is now all of the major cruise lines have extended the voluntary suspension of cruise operations. Norwegian yesterday announced that they will extend the suspension through May the 10th. So cruises are now scheduled to start again on May 11th. That extension applies to their 3 brands, Norwegian Cruise Line, Oceania, and Regent 7 Seas. Now, all guests booked, and this was the part that I was interested in because I had not heard from Norwegian on my May 11th cruise in Alaska. I hadn't heard anything official from them, and matter of fact, I still haven't. But from this, it can gather any guests that are booked on canceled cruises will receive compensation from the cruise line that will automatically get 125% refund or 150% refund if you take it in future cruise credits applied toward another Norwegian Cruise Line. That's through December of 2022. And just to sweeten the pot a little bit, if you book another cruise by April the 1st of 2020, so that's tomorrow. Wow. If you book a cruise by tomorrow, you're gonna get an additional 20% discount. Oh no, it's 20% discount if rebooked by April 14th. Okay, so I got 2 weeks. So apparently I can get 150% if I take a cruise credit and 20% if I rebook that same cruise. I'm gonna have to talk to them and see if that applies to other things, and as opposed to taking a money refund. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I talked to Tom Henry last night, and he sent me his schedule of cruises that he's has booked to see possibly if I could hook up with one that he's doing. I'd like to try to finagle it so I come up with 2 cruises out of the deal, or close to 2 cruises. So we'll see. And there's a possibility if they should get the season going that I could still do Alaska, late in the season, like toward August. And I could probably get a pretty good savings on booking an August cruise to Alaska. So I don't know. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that. The other thing I have to watch is my falls are still taken up with the funnel cake trailer and football season. So I have to weigh some options there. So I'm trying to look for bargains, number one. And unfortunately, I did the research that I've done so far on Norwegian. There's not any terrific bargains like Carnival's been having. But I'll keep looking. So anyway, at least everybody's in the fold now. Everything is shut down for until into May. The dates, I have all the dates here. Let's see. My mouse isn't working very well. Carnival is through May 11th. Royal Caribbean to the 12th. Disney is just through April 28th. MSC is through May 29th. Holland America through the 14th. Princess, of course, they were already shut down through the 10th. So they're all roughly the same time. Now, there's no guarantee, folks. Don't get your hopes up. There's no guarantee that that's going to get us over the hump. Quite frankly, I'm not at all sure that that's going to do it. I wouldn't be surprised to see another extension. Of course, also keeping, oops, I touched my face again. I need those two cocktails. Another thing to keep in mind is Alaska is shut down, period, until July the 1st. So that's a definite. All right, let's pause here for a second with a word from Scoot Around. Then I've got 3 or 4 other stories to get to. Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scoot Around. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scoot Around for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise. Okay. Love that music. All right. Let's see. Doing this in a little bit different order. Viking has announced that they will be launching cruises on the Mississippi River starting in 2022. Viking's first custom vessel, Viking Mississippi, will debut in August of 2022 and sail voyages on the lower and upper Mississippi River between New Orleans and St. Paul, Minnesota. The cruise line's arrival will bring modern river cruising to the Mississippi and will represent a major commitment to tourism and economic development in many communities along the river. Currently scheduled ports on the Viking's new Mississippi River cruises comprise 7 U.S. states: Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Darrow, and New Orleans, and St. Francisville, Mississippi, Natchez and Vicksburg, Tennessee, Memphis, Missouri, Hannibal, and St. Louis, Iowa, Burlington, Dubuque, and Davenport, Wisconsin, La Crosse, and Red Wing, and St. Paul and Minnesota. That's pretty cool. So Viking is coming. I've never done a river cruise, folks. I know very little about it. I know Emma and some of our friends over there in Europe have done several recently and loved them. The people that have from the U.S. that have gone over and done some of the European river cruises, they've all raved about them. One of the reasons that I haven't is, quite frankly, I thought they were a little on the expensive side. But we'll see. You got to look at the total package on those. So check comments to see if there's anything major here in comments. Let's see, Tom and Gretchen. Gretchen here, they're just talking back and forth. There's Jason. Jason's in from Pittsburgh. Hey, Jason, good to see you again today. Any cruise can be booked by that deadline. Oh, Tom's telling me that any cruise can be booked. That's cool, and get the 20%. All right, that's awesome. So if you go with cruise credits, if I'm reading that right, 150% plus a 20% discount. That's pretty sweet. Tom says that he even got 20% on both Hawaii cruises in 2021-22. Both were on the books. I just had them repriced. Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna have to talk to those folks. That's on the agenda for today. Bonnie pops in, so Bonnie's with us too. So we've got all the regular crew in-house. That's always good. So next on the agenda this morning, let's see here. I'm still having issues with the Wi-Fi signal, and I'm not at all sure what I thought was problems from YouTube, which I know at least one time was. I'm having some trouble with my signal here, and I think it's just that the providers are overwhelmed with everybody being home, and so they're using it. So we've talked to our folks about possibly coming out and replacing our modem. I don't know. This is all over my head. I'm not very technically oriented, folks. All right. Let's get to some of the not such good news today. The Zaandam, the operator of the stricken cruise liner, has warned that more people could die at sea unless its vessels are allowed to dock, accusing governments of turning their backs on thousands of people stranded at sea during this situation. The president of Holland American Line called for a port to show compassion and grace by allowing passengers on the Zaandam cruise liner and its sister ship, the Rotterdam, back on land. Now, if you remember, folks, 4 people have died on the Zaandam. The Rotterdam, which had been sent out to take it some supplies, they ended up moving the healthy passengers from the Zaandam to the Rotterdam. The 8 people have now tested positive, and about 200 people are ill with flu-like symptoms on the Zaandam, which has hundreds of British, American, and Australian holidaymakers on board, many of whom are elderly. Both ships have cleared. They cleared the Panama Canal and are sailing towards Florida. But apparently, the governor of Florida is saying, no, we don't want these folks off the ship here. So I'm sure there is some behind the scenes negotiations going on that one, because they are still sailing toward Fort Lauderdale. I'm just not at all sure how this one's going to end. These people have been on the Zaandam since what, March the 8th or something, March the 5th maybe. I mean, they've been a long time, and this was down in South America. The first time they were refused a port was maybe in Buenos Aires or something, and then all the way up the west coast of South America. And then they weren't going to let them through the Panama Canal. I mean, it's just been a nightmare for these guys. So hopefully somebody will come up with the CDC and a port are going to come up with some way of getting these people off the ship and to get the help that they need somewhere. So the Port of San Diego cleared the Celebrity Eclipse at the dock on B Street Cruise Terminal with approximately 2,500 passengers. And they worked through, this was an agreement with the California Office of Emergency Services, San Diego County Health and Human Services, the CDC, and the U.S. Coast Guard, Customs and Border Protection, and several other agencies were involved. The majority of the guests will disembark started yesterday and today, according to a press release. Before the Eclipse arrives, the following precautions were put in place to minimize community spread and exposure of COVID-19. Prior to arrival, all disembarking passengers and crew completed a CDC COVID-19 survey. During disembarkation, vessel staff is performing temperature monitoring to identify symptomatic passengers and crew. In coordination with the San Diego County Health and Human Services and the cruise line, any passenger or cruise member who is symptomatic will be isolated and then transported off the vessel for further evaluation. No symptomatic passenger or crew member will be allowed to disembark without approval of the county health officer. The cruise ship terminal was thoroughly cleaned and disinfected prior to the Eclipse's arrival, and additional hand washing stations are available in and around the terminal. So at least they've come up with a plan to get the folks off of one ship, at least. So a little sip of Diet Coke this morning. The other story that I have this morning, and this one I have some kind of mixed feelings about. The Chinese cruise industry could start up in a matter of weeks when given the go-ahead, as Chinese-based ships were the first to be pulled from service. Well, it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but back in January, during the original outbreak of COVID-19. The cruise industry's most wild market, forward revenue, and a bright spot if Chinese authority give the go-ahead, according to sources familiar with the matter. Other signs that the country is coming back online include more traffic in major cities, and factories are once again nearing full output, with most workers having turn. The Chinese Cruise and Yacht Industry Association recently announced a cruise reassurance plan. While some ships have left China or departed seasonally, a number of operators are either in a layup scenarios or still in operation, although with no passengers and close to the Chinese market. So there's a possibility, folks, that when they get things started again, the Chinese market's going to be the first place. Now, there's a lot that's got to happen before any of that goes on. Number one, and I assume the Chinese market is like the American market, the cruise lines count on people being able to travel internationally to get on cruise ships. If a ship sails out of Florida, it's not all people from Florida. Goodness, we fly in from all over the country and literally all over the world to get on a cruise ship. I would assume it's the same way in China. I've never sailed on the Chinese market, Hong Kong, any place like that. I'd love to when this is all said and done and over with. I'm assuming it's the same way that people travel from all over that part of the world to get on ships. So you got to have, number one, the travel industry back working, so you can get on airplanes and you can get to the airport and the city you're disembarking from and or embarking from and get on the boat. So the travel industry's got to be up and going. You got to have the hotel industry up and going, a restaurant industry up and going, the rental car agencies up and going. That's all part of the subsequent people that are involved in us getting on a cruise ship and going on a cruise. So they say that China could get going in a short period of time because they were the first ones to shut down. Well, so be it. But you still got to have all those other things in place before you can do that. In this country, we've got to have the same thing that happened before our cruise industry can get started again, which is why I'm thinking 30 days is not enough time for them to get going. It's my opinion, just looking at the situation, and a lot's got to change in a short period of time for them to even think about doing a cruise 30 days into May. I don't see it, folks. I really don't. As much as I'd like to say I do, I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, got a ton more comments. So let's go back here and see what everybody's saying. Okay, we got Chillie, I think you need a Wi-Fi extender. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Bonnie, I need something. I'm not at all sure what's going on with this. So anyway, let's see. Gretchen says, Chillie, Tom Henry says, I would book 2 cruises. Come on, tongue. I would book 2 cruises and apply the FCC to each to get maximum value. Yeah, that's my thinking at this point. But then when, I could get a good deal right now to go to Alaska in August. Is Alaska going to be open? Do I want to waste time with booking a cruise in August and then have it be canceled out again? I mean, yeah, it'd just be a pain in the butt, but it's good work. So I don't know. I have to think on that one to see what I can come up with. Tom says he's waiting for the Rotterdam sick. You got to think, Tom, that's got to happen. There's going to be a lot more. Bonnie says the governor of Florida does not know compassion, only interested in dollars. Yeah. And Jason says, maybe Cuba will take them. Boy, wouldn't that be a kick in the butt? One of the other ships went into Cuba. That was one of the European ships. All right, Tom says, they said on the news this AM that the virus can be transmitted for 6 or 8 days after symptoms go away. We keep hearing there's so many different stories from all these different experts on that business, but who knows? I don't think anybody knows for sure on this because it's so new. I mean, I'm one of the ones that first thought that all we had to get to was warm weather, and you get some good solid warm weather, it's going to kill it like it does the flu. Well, obviously that's not going to happen because look at Florida, look at New Orleans. I mean, they've had warm weather already, and they should be past the trouble spot if that was going to be truthful. It is interesting that if you look at the world maps, everything south of the equator, which is the opposite side of the world from us, so our winter is their summer down there. There's much less cases south of the equator than north of the equator. I don't know why that is the fact, but that's just from looking at the maps. So, Amy, they want the cruise ships during good times, but they're not willing to help during the bad. Well, boy, I tell you what, that's certainly what it looks like. Somebody's got to help the folks, just like San Diego helped out, got the celebrity Eclipse in. You got to come up with the right procedures and let these people get off the boat and get home. Interesting that all American ships are taking the long way to the east coast of Florida. They're headed to the Gulf, the west side of Cuba. I think probably, Tom, they're just kind of sailing around with, no definite place to go yet. Let the passengers and crew be quarantined on land in one of the many totally empty hotels, and let the sick passengers get medical help. That's a good possibility, Bonnie. Good possibility. So, Tom says, how about Norfolk? Let the Navy base help the passengers. There's another good suggestion. Wondering how the Coral Princess is doing. It's approaching Barbados with fuel and supplies. I haven't heard anything about the Coral Princess, and I didn't look that up today, Tom. But I haven't heard anything about them for several days now. So, there's still several ships out there that are not totally up to snuff yet. One of my friends that I've been trying to do a Chillie chats with is now in quarantine on the Symphony of the Seas. I don't know. She's on one of the Royal Caribbean ships, and it's on her second day in quarantine. So I was sorry to hear that one. And of course, you got Oasis of the Seas has got, basically they were in the clear there for a while, and all of a sudden they now have some issues on board with crew members. So, one of the guys that's been doing a lot of videos from on board ship who got sent home has reported in that a number of the Oasis of the Seas folks are sick. So anyway, well, folks, that about wraps it up for this morning. I will, of course, be back. This is Tuesday. I'll be back on Thursday or before then if anything major happens. I've got to start looking here seriously at Norwegian cruises and maybe make some kind of decision and get a hold of these people and work something out here in the next day or two. So anyway, that's going to wrap us up for this morning, guys. Thanks for being with me. You guys stay healthy out there. And remember, a cocktail in each hand keeps you from touching your face inadvertently. I'm just saying, just so you guys think about that one. So anyway, that's it for this morning, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching today's Travel and Cruise Industry News. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.